Well, hello BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. I'm your host Peg. Welcome to New History on the Horizon, episode number 8. Pretty sure it's episode 8. I should check before I do these things. And of course, we have Daisy chomping on a dog toy right as I begin. Alright, well, we're going to keep rocking on through. I've got a stack of books, guys. I'm not sure, I might have to do this in 2 parts, but we're going to start with books that are currently already out, and then stay on until towards the end, and then we'll move into upcoming releases that I have advanced copies for, so you know what's on the horizon. Daisy, stop doing that. Let's start off with a few of the ones we've seen before on this channel that I now have finished copies of, so I'm really excited about. And this book, which I actually reviewed for Shelf Awareness, is Hitler's Aristocrats. I got a nice finished copy. It's from St. Martin's Press. Subtitle is The Secret Power Players in Britain and America Who Supported the Nazis, 1923 to 1941. So I had an advanced proof, and I was missing all the really cool photos, which I really wanted to have. I'm filming next to my window, and it's been a really gorgeous day here in the low 80s, but of course, being Colorado, Friday night we'll have rain with a mixture of snow, and it's going to be kind of cold and crappy this weekend. But anyway, I have the photos here of everyone I read in this book. It's by Susan Ronald, if I did not mention that. This was a great read. Check out my review on Shelf Awareness. Any of my social media accounts, you'll see a picture of this book. Go to Shelf Awareness and type in Hitler's Aristocrats, and you'll find the review. It goes way into a lot of detail, especially around Duke and Duchess of Windsor. Anyway, it was just, gosh, I read this so long ago now, but it's a brand new book, a great read, and it was really well written, and you get a lot of the name dropping. I was happy to see that there's a lot of reference to Chips Channon in here and his famous diary. And I still haven't gotten around to showing you guys. I found a bookseller in England that actually ships overseas for free. And I was able to procure, although it cost me a little bit for the 3 of them, but I have all 3 volumes of Chips Channon's diaries. I will show those soon. They're in the corner over here. But yeah, I got them. So anyway, Hitler's Aristocrats, finished copy. Also got a finished copy of Untold Power. I haven't had a chance to dive into this yet, but I want to. Untold Power is the fascinating rise and complex legacy of First Lady Edith Wilson. That is by Rebecca Boggs Roberts. It's put out by Viking Books. So this is the finished copy. Yeah, I'd like to know just how much she was involved after Wilson's stroke. A lot. Untold Power, she pretty much was running the show. So, I'm not going into a lot of reading of the book jackets just because I have a lot of books to move through. And we have seen this one on the channel before, and I've read the description. But Untold Power is out right now, if you're interested. And then this one, I'm really glad I have a finished copy for Farrar, Straus, and Giroux. Thank you for sending to me. This is The Wounded World, W.E.B. Du Bois and the First World War by Chad L. Williams. I had a paperback advanced copy, but this is the final version, and it's quite a big book. It's about, with text, about 428 pages, but all about just W.E.B. Du Bois, his experiences in the First World War. Daisy almost jumped up on my stand here and would have knocked the camera over. Sorry for that. So, oh yeah, and I said Farrar, Straus, and Giroux, out now. Okay, so now we're moving on into the next portion of our New History on the Horizon. Sorry, gosh, I shouldn't do this. The cars are driving by with the window open. I get distracted. Okay, Let's dive into this one right here first. Oh, this is another, I'm sorry, there's one more book that I have a finished copy of, which I've already read and reviewed. This one was reviewed in the Washington Independent Review of Books, but I've got the finished copy of The Diary Keepers, World War II in the Netherlands, as written by the people who lived through it, by Nina Segal. I highly recommend this book. It's put out by Echo. This is a hardcover finished copy. Wrote a review for it, like I said, for Washington Independent Review of Books, but it was lovely to get this finished copy that has the colorful photographs and a lot of the people that she talks about in this book, the peoples who kept journals, and on both sides. Some of these diary entries were really unsettling, you know, and how some people in the Netherlands, just a couple of people, were really on board and signed up to persecute their fellow citizens, and it's just really shameful. But you kind of move through the same cast of characters, so as the years progress, you kind of find out what happens to them. The Diary Keepers, it's really riveting reading, great history, just a wonderful act of resilience on the historian's part to track down all these things and go through all the diaries, and then to have to curate which ones she wants to include in the book. She said it was a really hard thing to do. Nina Segal did. So, props to her. Hats off to Nina Segal. This was a fantastic read. Highly recommend. Okay, now this book came out a little bit ago. It should be a quick read because, you know, I've always been fascinated by this topic, as anyone would be when it comes to the JFK assassination. We know tons of books on Lee Harvey Oswald, but have we really talked about the Oswalds? This is about him and his wife, Marina. This is an untold account of Marina and Lee. By Paul R. Gregory, and this is put out by Diversion Books. I'll read to you the description on this one. So, in the Oswalds, Paul Gregory, labeled by Robert Oswald as the only friend of Lee Harvey Oswald and his Soviet wife, Marina, breaks nearly 60 years of silence to reveal how the soul of a killer took shape. 2 hours after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, television cameras captured police escorting a suspect into Dallas Police Headquarters. Meanwhile, in the Student Center at the University of Oklahoma, Gregory scanned the figure in a white V-neck t-shirt and saw a battered yet recognizable face. Shocked, he said, "I know that man." In fact, he knew Lee and Marina better than almost anyone in America. Identified by the FBI as a known associate of LHO, Gregory faced interrogations by the Secret Service and would later testify before the Warren Commission. Now he offers readers the intimate details of his time spent within the inner world of Lee and Marina's young marriage and their rundown duplex in Fort Worth, Texas. His recollections include memories both casual and deadly serious, such as the dinner at his parents' house introducing Marina to the Dallas Russians, a front yard incident of spousal abuse, and Lee's attempt to assassinate a retired general. Gregory also recalls his father's role as Marina's translator and confidant in the first 4 days following the assassination, holed up at the Six Flags Inn with Marina, Lee's mother, and the Secret Service. Let's see here. As a scholar and skilled researcher, Gregory debunks the vast array of conspiracy theories with a candid assessment of the JFK assassination, demonstrating that Lee Harvey Oswald did it, and did it alone. And that the Oswald he once called a friend had the motive, the intelligence, and the means to be an assassin. So that kind of sounds like a really gripping read from someone who actually knew these people. Got some pictures in there. All right, so that is out right now. Next book from Penguin Press. Brand new. They reached out to me and said, would you be interested in taking a look at this? And I said, for sure. So this just came out at the end of March, so March 28th. It's a fairly new book on the stands. All right. Here we go. I'm going to read this to you while I hold up the book. This is Humanly Possible. 700 Years of Humanist Free Thinking, Inquiry, and Hope by Sarah Bakewell. Humanism is an expansive tradition of thought that places shared humanity, cultural vibrancy, and moral responsibility at the center of our lives. The humanistic worldview, as clear-eyed and enlightening as it is kaleidoscopic and richly ambiguous, has inspired people for centuries to make their choices by principles of free thinking, intellectual inquiry, fellow feeling, and optimism. Spanning from the literary enthusiasts of the 14th century to the secular campaigners of our own time, from Erasmus to Esperanto, from anatomists to agnostics, from Christine de Pizan to Bertrand Russell, and from Voltaire to Zora Neale Hurston, Bakewell brings together humanists across history. Here she explores their immense variety. Some sought to promote scientific and rationalist ideas. Others put more emphasis on moral living, and still others were concerned with the cultural and literary studies known as the humanities. This joyful and celebratory book asks not only what brings all these aspects of humanism together, but why it has such enduring power, despite opposition from fanatics, mystics, and tyrants. All right, this is about 464 pages. Again, Penguin Press. I'm very excited to read this. I love this type of just exploration of thought. It's got a mixture of like philosophy, a little bit of sociology, got like literary studies in here. Oh, and it's richly illustrated throughout. I like when they do like inserts like that. So it's not a whole page, but it's just a little snippet. Obviously we've got Da Vinci in there. Provocateurs and Pagans is one chapter heading. I wonder who's this. I should have Thomas Hardy. Just a range of thinkers, writers, artists. Love it. I know, and Sarah Bakewell she's also written How to Live and At the Existentialist Cafe. So this is going to be a fun and juicy read. All right, and I'm very excited to share the final, and we're going to move over to military history now. The final volume in John C. McManus's Pacific War series, as you can, I don't know if you see behind me, these two books here. We've got Fire and Fortitude. It was John McManus's first book on the Pacific War in World War II. This is the U.S. Army in the Pacific War, 1941 to 1943. I've got this is the paperback copy. Ah, nice big book here. Second book in the series is the U.S. Army's Pacific War Odyssey, 1944. Island Infernos. And this is put up by Caliber Books. I don't know if you can pick up Martine coughing. She's got a little bit of a tickle going on. This was the second in the series, and guess what, guys? Now the third book is out. Should be out right now, actually. Let me see. No, May 2nd, guys. I've got a finished copy early. What? I got a finished copy early. So, the final book is called To the End of the Earth, the U.S. Army and the Downfall of Japan, 1945, by John C. McManus. This one is not as big as the others, so the concluding book, you know, these are, I'm sorry, looking right at them. These two big books, and then To the End of the Earth. So this comes out May 2nd, not too long away. Again, by Caliber Books. So this is the final volume in the all-encompassing Pacific War trilogy. In the series' final book, McManus wastes no time dropping readers into the violent complicated and heroic chaos of the Pacific War, from the liberation of the Philippines to the Japanese surrender, zeroing in on the massive impact of the U.S. Army and the seemingly insurmountable hurdles soldiers faced in the march towards victory. For readers diving into McManus's work for the first time, To the End of the Earth can easily be read, as a standalone, a deep dive into a pivotal year in military history. And for those who have been invested since the first book, McManus delivers a conclusion well worth the wait. So, very excited to have the concluding volume. This was an epic year in the war. So many things were going on. And McManus is just at the top of his form in these books, I'm telling you. I'm really looking forward to finishing it up with this book. My TBR stack is insane. Every waking moment now is pretty much spent with a book in my nose in a book. But this is fabulous. I wouldn't have it any other way. So To the End of the Earth by John C. McManus at your bookstores on May 2nd. So if you're wanting a standalone, if you just want to read about the downfall of Japan in the last year of the war, this is good to go. But for fans of the series, you're gonna want to pick this one up. Okay. Now a few more. I was contacted by the writer of this book, and I was really pleased. Both his topic is intriguing to me, and the fact that he reached out to me, I was like, yes, I would love to take a look at this book. Plus the fact that it's printed by Potomac Books, which is an imprint of the University of Nebraska Press, and I have several other University of Nebraska Press books that have just come out that I'll be sharing in this video. So they consistently keep releasing throughout the year titles I just find just fascinating. So this is John A. Gronbeck, hyphenated, Gronbeck Tedesco, and this is called Operation Pedro Pan, the Migration of Unaccompanied Children from Castro's Cuba. Again, Potomac Books. I don't have a pub sheet for this, so I just want to read it to you real quick. Daisy, take the ball and go. Sorry, she's driving me a little crazy. At the outset, the proposal seemed modest. Transfer 200 unaccompanied Cuban children to Miami to save them from communism. The time apart from their parents would be short, only until Fidel Castro fell from power by the result of U.S. force, Cuban counter-revolutionary tactics, or a combination of both. Families would be reunited in a matter of months. A plan was hatched, and it worked, until it ballooned into something so unwieldy that within 2 years the modest proposal erupted into what at the time was the largest migration of unaccompanied minors to the United States. Operation Pedro Pan explores the undertaking, sponsored by the Miami Catholic Diocese, federal and state offices, child welfare agencies, and anti-Castro Cubans to bring more than 14,000 unaccompanied children to the U.S. during the Cold War. Operation Pedro Pan was the colloquial name for the Unaccompanied Cuban Children's Program, which began under government largesse in February 1961. Children without immediate family support in the United States, some 8,300 minors, received group and foster care through the Catholic Welfare Bureau and other religious, governmental, and non-governmental organizations as young people were dispersed throughout the country. Using personal interviews and newly unearthed information, Operation Pedro Pan provides a deeper understanding of how and why the program was devised. John A. Gronbeck Tedesco demonstrates how the seemingly mundane conditions of everyday life can suddenly uproot civilians from their routines of work, church, and school and thrust them into historical prominence. The stories told by Pedro Pans are filled with horror and resilience and contribute to a refugee memory that still shapes Cuban American politics and identity today. And I'm going to read this with a dear friend in my mind. I'll just name her name's Nancy. She passed away a few years ago, but she came to, she was actually in one of the boats that escaped Castro, and she's like, I want her to write her story. And then she moved away, and I wasn't able to connect with her, and then she passed. But she was in those boats, and she came over, and I tell you, she was proud to be an American, and proud of just her Cuban ancestry. And so I'm going to read this and just think of Nancy. So, what a wonderful story. And I mean, not all of it's good, but when people come here, they will risk their lives to come here, and there's a reason. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, I'll show you some other books that have come in from the University of Nebraska Press. I guess this is kind of along the same lines of maybe like a refugee type of story. And let me see if I have the pub sheet for this still, I hope. I'll probably find it later. This is called Exiled, From the Killing Fields of Cambodia to California and Back by Katja Sengel. This has got the Potomac Books imprint. Okay. So Katja Sengel met San Tran Croucher when San was 75 years old and living in California, having miraculously survived the Cambodian genocide with her 3 daughters, Sithy, Cynthia, and Jennifer. San's earliest memories are of fleeing ethnic attacks in her Vietnamese village, only to be later tortured in Cambodia by the Khmer Rouge. But San's family's troubles didn't end after their resettlement in California. As a teenager under the Khmer Rouge, San's daughter Sithy had been the family's savior, the strong one who learned how to steal food to keep them alive. In the United States, Sithy's survival skills were best suited for a life of crime, and she was eventually jailed for drug possession. In Exiled, Sengel follows the stories of 4 Cambodian families, including San's, as they confront criminal deportation 40 years after their resettlement in the United States. Weaving together these stories into a single narrative, Sengel finds that violence comes in many forms and that trauma is passed down through generations. So this edition has a new afterword by the author. And there is our author. Let's see if you can focus. Can you focus? Focus. There you go. And focus. There you go. So, this is fantastic. Foreign Policy magazine says speaks broadly to the current debate over the wider immigration crisis. I read a lot of books like this. I've always been intrigued by other cultures and other nationalities and just what they go through in immigrating or being refugees. Just their survival stories. I just find that it has something to share with us. If you're just willing to listen and read and understand what someone else's experience is. It's a great teacher. All right, so the next book from University of Nebraska Press under the Potomac Books imprint. Really excited. Oh, it's also by the same author, Katja Sengel. Looking forward to it. We're going to tag team these 2 books. I'm going to put these side by side on my reading pile. Okay, so she's covering the Cambodian experience, and now we've got From Chernobyl with Love. All right, reporting from the ruins of the Soviet Union. And on this channel I am a big reader of Russian history, Soviet Union history, studying communism, all of these things. Just I don't know, I've got a passion for it. Hopefully you don't hear that car driving by, but you might. Thank you, sir. All right, so what is From Chernobyl with Love all about? I will tell you. In the wake of the fall of the Berlin Wall, talking to the dog. Take the ball and go. In the wake of the fall of the Berlin Wall, the late 20th century was a time of unprecedented hope for democracy and freedom in Eastern Europe. The collapse of the Soviet Union left in its wake a number of independent countries, and communist propaganda was being displaced by Western ideals of a free press. Young writers, journalists, and adventurers such as Katja Sengel flocked from the west eastward to cities like Prague and Budapest, seeking out terra nova. Despite the region's appeal, neither Kiev in Ukraine nor Riga in Latvia was the type of place you would expect to find a 22-year-old Californian just out of college. Kiev was too close to Moscow. Riga was too small to matter, and too cold. But Sengel ended up living and working in both. This book is her remarkable story. Oh, I love it. Sengel first took a job at the Baltic Times just 7 years after Latvia regained its independence. The idea of a free press in the Eastern Bloc was still so promising that she ultimately moved to Ukraine. From there, Sengel made several trips to Chernobyl, site of the world's worst nuclear disaster. It was at Chernobyl that she met her fiancé. Wow, what a place to meet your fiancé. Good on ya, Katja. Whew. But as she fell in love, Ukraine collapsed into what would become the Orange Revolution, bringing it to the brink of political disintegration and civil war. Ultimately, this fall of idealism in the East underscores Sengel's own loss of innocence. From Chernobyl with Love is an indelible portrait of this historical epoch and a memoir of the highest order. This edition features a new chapter, preface, and afterword reflecting on current events in Russia and Ukraine, so that's fantastic. I would like to know what the author is thinking about everything that's happening right now. So, this is the, yes, a paperback reprint. So the hardcover, or the initial one, came out in 2019. So this one does have the afterward as of, let's see. So her afterword is in June 2022. Okay, so less than a year ago. So there's a lot for her to obviously comment on. So I'm happy to have this updated paperback issue of this fantastic book, along with her her story on the Cambodia, the killing fields, and then, you know, what happened when they're struggling to stay in America 40 years after they came here. I mean, it's nuts. There's got to be some common sense laws on the books, but there never is. Exiled came out in, let's see here, 2018 by the University of Nebraska Press. So, okay. Two books right on top of each other. I love reading books by the same author. So, Katja Sengel, courtesy of Potomac Books. This is the next book from, this one is from Bison Books, which is another imprint of Nebraska Press. And this kind of ties in a little bit. Well, it's a different geographic area. I'm reading a book right now for review, Brutal Reckoning, which is about the Creek Indians and the Creek Nation and Andrew Jackson. But this one is also about Native Americans. This is Blood in the Borderlands, Conflict, Kinship, and the Bent Family, 1821 to 1920. And this is by David C. Bayris. Nice little, kind of slim little volume here. Minus the notes, about 185 pages. Let's see what we got here. The Bents might be the most famous family in the history of the American West. From the 1820s to the 1920s, they participated in many of the major events that shaped the Rocky Mountains and Southern Plains. They trapped beaver, navigated the Santa Fe Trail, intermarried with powerful Indian tribes, governed territories, became Indian agents, fought against the U.S. government, acquired land grants, and created historical narratives. The Bent family's financial and political success through the mid-19th century derived from the marriages of Bent men to women of influential borderland families, New Mexican and Southern Cheyenne. Daisy, get out of here. When mineral discoveries, the Civil War, and railroad construction led to territorial expansions that threatened to overwhelm the West's oldest inhabitants and their relatives, the Bents took up education, diplomacy, violence, entrepreneurialism, and the writing of history to maintain their status and influence. Sorry for the glare. In Blood in the Borderlands, David C. Bayris provides an in-depth portrait of how the Bent family creatively adapted in the face of difficult circumstances. He incorporates new material about the women in the family and the forgotten Bents and shows how indigenous power shaped the family's business and political strategies as the family adjusted to American expansion and settler colonist ideologies. The Bent family history is a remarkable story of intercultural cooperation, horrific violence, and pragmatic adaptability in the face of expanding American power. So, sounds pretty interesting. I've heard of the different Bents. I don't know if this is the same Bents I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the Dents as well, but Bents and Dents, they're all over the place. So, 3 books, there you go, from the University of Nebraska Press. I don't know if I have another one in here, but I might. Where are we at? 30 minutes, and that's just on the books that are out right now. Oh, Okay, you know what? I'm going to keep on, and I might make a second video with the... I am sorry for that. Upcoming releases. I'm okay, Daisy. She always checks on me when I sneeze. It's the funniest thing. She always runs wherever she is in the house. She hears me. I'm okay. She comes. She's like, "Are you okay?" It's the sweetest thing. So this book is already out right now. No, it isn't. May 1st. We've still got time. This is from. I've had a couple of books from this publisher. It's not your mainstream publishing company. It is the Jewish Publication Society, based out of Philadelphia. And this is Intimate Strangers, A History of Jews and Catholics in the City of Rome by Frederick Brandfon. Let me get a good look at that. Jewish Publication Society. Got a sheet out here. I'm going to try to keep that glare away from you guys. Woo! Whoa! Alright, so some of these are still upcoming. Okay, that's good. I'm going to have to make a part 2, guys. Actually, not a part 2. I'll just make episode 9. How about them apples? I'm living crazy. Living on the wild side. So let's see here. With engaging stories that illuminate the history of Jews and Jewish-Catholic relations in Rome, this book investigates the unusual relationship between these two vibrant Roman communities as it has developed from the 1st century CE to the present. Written in a very easy-to-read way, interweaving story upon story, Intimate Strangers takes us on a compelling sweep of 2,000 years of history through the present successes and dilemmas of Roman Jews in post-war Europe. As Brandfon explains in the introduction, the book begins with a question. How do you describe two venerable peoples, Jews and Catholics, who have lived side by side as Romans since the 1st century, in anger, adversity, and intermittent admiration? I call them intimate strangers. The oxymoron that is the title of this book encapsulates a contradictory relationship through which, despite real difficulties, two very different communities have managed to live together, uninterrupted, for almost 2,000 years. That's intriguing. I'll just give you a quick synopsis of some of the things he examines here. He begins by examining the Arch of Titus and the Jewish catacombs as touchstones, painting a picture of a Jewish community remaining Jewish over centuries. Papal processions and the humiliating races at carnival time exemplify Jewish interactions with the predominant Catholic powers in medieval and Renaissance Rome. The Roman ghetto, the forcible conversion of Jews, emancipation from the ghetto in light of Italian nationalism, the horrors of fascism, and the Nazi occupation in Rome. And then we go into the Second Vatican Council, proclamation absolving. Okay, so the Second Vatican Council proclamation absolving Jews of murdering Christ and the celebration of Israel's birth at the Arch of Titus are interwoven with Jewish stories of daily life through the centuries. Doesn't that sound fascinating? And it's Frederick Brandfon. So here's this nice man's photo there. Here you go. Some of the chapters are titled, what do we got here? Who was a Jew? Jews, pagans, proselytes, and God-fearers in the Roman catacombs. Oh, here's a great one. Chapter 1. This was a great story, too. And it's called An Inconvenient Liaison. The Triumph of Titus and His Affair with Berenice. It's fantastic. house guests and humanists, philosophers, poets, prostitutes, and pilgrims in late medieval and Renaissance Rome. Don't these chapters sound really good? Wonderful mixture of ancient history, biblical history, you know, Old Testament, Torah, this kind of stuff. I love it. New Testament, obviously, but with the Catholic Church. But this is coming out, publishes May 1st from the Jewish Publication Society. Add it to your list if you're interested. I sure am. Okay, guys, let's see here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. I got 9 more books to go. So we're going to call it quits on episode 8 of New History on the Horizon. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment below. Let me know what you think of these titles. What you might be adding to your TBR. Most of these are out right now, and a few of the ones I've told you are coming out early May. So, next video, episode 9. We've got some more coming up this summer. So check it out, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching, BookTube.